following podcast contains spoilers and We watched a thing. We watched a thing. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to We Watched a Thing. You've got Billy in your ears. You've got Dave in your ears. Let's get into it. How you doing, mate?
I'm fantastic. I'm so looking forward to this.
Me too.
I've got no idea where the fuck this episode's going to go.
This is going to be fun. This is a new thing that we've concepted. It's going to be a new kind of recurring series on We Watched a Thing called Required Viewing. Now, what is our topic this week, Dave?
This week it's all about the stuff that one of us has seen that the other one hasn't but should have.
That's right.
And more importantly, that you, the listeners, haven't seen but should have.
That's right.
This is where you learn about everything you've missed along the way.
When Topher and I came up with the name We Watched a Thing, I always thought it was fun because it was just a thing. Didn't always have to be a movie. I thought, oh yeah, we can get into TV, we can get into concerts, we can get into plays, we can go highbrow on this bitch. And here we are, 260 episodes in, doing our first look at TV.
And I'm pleased to be here for it.
And I think, I don't know about you, the only criteria I had for Hidden Gem was really, do I think Dave has seen this? And I got to be honest, that was hard because I know that you have seen a lot.
I'm a loser who doesn't get out much.
It was really tough.
Yeah, that was my prime thing. It was knowing what I know of you, having known you for many years now. Was I fairly confident that these were things you hadn't seen?
Yep.
And then secondary to that, I enjoy bringing things to greater light that I feel should have been seen but were unfairly, for whatever reason, overlooked or for some reason just haven't received the love that I think they should.
Definitely.
And because I feel as an arrogant person that my opinions are the most important in the world, if I think something's good, then fuck me, everyone else should as well.
Yeah. Now, before we get into the list, I should mention the fun part of this is that we're going to revisit this in about a month's time and we're going to watch at least the pilot of every show that the other person recommends.
I think... And I'm going to steal from our friends at the Countdown here. I think that it needs to be at least 3 episodes.
3 episodes? Okay. So you reckon we want
to be able to draw a valid conclusion as to whether or not you like something.
Yep, I think that's fair.
Sometimes things take a little bit of time to kind of get going, and I think 3 episodes is kind of a fair yardstick.
I reckon that's fair. So we'll come back in about a month, maybe 2 if it's 3 episodes for 5 shows, and we'll do a little mini review of each series.
And I can quite confidently say that the shows I'm bringing to the table are so fucking good that you're going to want to watch the entire thing, not just 3 episodes. It's going to take you a while because they're fucking fantastic.
So being cautious, knowing that you've watched everything, I have a list of 10 shows, so I have a buffer of 5. I reckon we should bring another element to the table. If we each get through our list and we don't have 5 that the other person hasn't seen, you lose. I don't know what the loser has to do yet, but you lose.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
I've got 3 buffer ones. I've got my initial my main 5, and I've got a three sort of, in case you've seen one. I've got some in the bank.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go in reverse order then. Let's go from our top, so that if you haven't seen one, we're not kind of hitting our kind of bottom 5. So
all right. Well, flipping it. All right. My number one is a show, and I've done the legwork, so I can tell you where you can find all these things, so that you can go and check them out. I haven't left you any legwork to do. My number one is a New Zealand show.
Okay.
So I know our friend Sam Hurley has seen it.
Yep.
I'm fairly sure no one else has seen this fucking show.
I'm trying to think if I've ever seen a series from New Zealand, and I don't think I have.
The Almighty Johnsons.
I've not seen this show, so you were so far in the lead.
It is fucking great. It's as I said, it's a New Zealand show. It's about 4 brothers who, you primarily you're seeing through the eyes of one brother, Axel Johnson.
Yeah,
he and his 3 brothers are the reincarnation of the Norse gods. And you follow Axel as he comes to terms with the fact that he is in fact Odin.
Okay. Okay.
I can already feel you going, fucking what?
No, this sounds good. I'm in for this.
It's so funny.
Yeah. So is it purely a comedy show?
No, there are elements to drama as well. It's right up your alley.
Yeah, okay, yeah, cool.
It's primarily a comedy, but there is an undercurrent that is slightly more serious drama in that you're following Axel as he strives to uncover his powers as Odin, and he needs to find Frigga, his counterpart.
Yep.
So that they can all ascend to their godly,
Yeah, nice. I'm in. I'm in for this. How many seasons are there?
But the reason it's wonderful, and Sam's probably going to find this offensive because it's a bit fucking racist. The reason it's funny is because it's so New Zealand.
Yeah, right. Yeah. As Australians, we can say that because we're very close. I think New Zealand comedy is very similar to Australian comedy. Like
it's Sam's turned me on to so many wonderful things. There's a fantastic horror film called it's called like Housebound or something like that.
Yep.
Paul and our other friends weren't as big a fan. I thought it was fucking magnificent because there's a New Zealand humour. Much as Australian humour and Irish humour and UK humour, that all of us have a certain... we're all slightly sort of... we've all got a sense of humour that people in the US don't necessarily get.
Yeah.
And within that subgenre, we each have our own sense of humour.
Yeah.
And I thought Australian humour is a certain bent on that self-awareness thing that we all share. Same with UK, same with the Irish, same with Scottish, same with New Zealand, and same with Canada. Shouldn't leave them out. I'm a big fan of Letterkenny. We all have that same self-awareness, but everyone's humour is slightly different, and I have a real fondness for New Zealand humour.
Yeah.
There's not enough of it in the world, and this show is replete with it.
Yeah, nice. I'm gonna.
It is.
I have to check it out.
It's the four brothers in it, and there are no real name actors, obviously.
Yeah.
You've got Dino Gorman, who was Philly in the Hobbit movies, he's probably a face that people recognise. Keisha Knight-Hughes from Whale Rider, she's in it for about 50% of the there's about 3 seasons of it, I think. She's in it for about half of it.
Yeah.
Other than that, not a lot of faces you'd recognise, but everyone in it is great.
Yeah.
It is hilariously funny, and it's so original.
Yeah.
Just the idea of the Norse gods all being reincarnated and fucking appearing in New Zealand. There is no show like this on the planet. There never will be. It thoroughly deserves to be watched. Not enough people have seen it. Yep. Sam will back me up. Everyone should fucking watch The Almighty Johnsons. Well, over to you, Billy.
I'm keen. And this is what we're here for. It shows that not enough people have seen.
I should say, like with almost everything I'm giving you, it's on fucking Amazon Prime. Readily accessible. Anyone can watch it.
Well, here we go with my number one. And this is a worry because it's an HBO show, which might have you going, fucking, come on, that's got to be, that's a big studio. That's a big network. People have heard of it. Yet when I looked at the Wikipedia for this show this morning, it's one of those things where the Wikipedia tables, the episodes have like the number of viewers listed. They do it by millions for some reason, even with shows like this, where the most viewed episodes are like 0.0018. And it's like, just say thousands of viewers. I'm not sure if you've heard of this. I'll be curious to see. It's called How To with John Wilson. Have you heard of this show or seen it?
I have never heard of this show.
Well, let me preface this by saying you know what a massive Nathan Fielder fan I am. this show is produced by Nathan Fielder, and yet it's almost the antithesis to a Nathan Fielder production. John Wilson is a doc.
Is that the guy that I hate?
It is the guy
based on the one show you fucking recommended.
It is the guy that you hate.
Man, I'm already dreading this.
John Wilson is not. So John Wilson is a documentarian, and the show is a comedy. But it's just genius. So every episode is labeled under this banner of how to do something. And he lives in New York and he just wanders around and films things in New York. And they're things like how to put up scaffolding, how to improve your memory, how to make friends, things like that. But the episode, much like a Nathan For You episode, they do kind of go spiral out of control a bit, but not in the same way. I'm willing to bet that you will enjoy this show a lot. You know, like how to improve your memory starts with that basic idea and ends up with him in Ohio at a conference on the Mandela effect. And it's a really funny and almost sad and kind of poignant series, which, as you know, is kind of my bread and butter, that kind of dramedy bent.
Yeah.
But you never actually see him. He is behind the camera the entire time, just narrating.
Oh, okay. So it's not
like
the other thing
exactly.
with the obnoxious prat, embarrassing people.
Yeah. So there's none of that. It's very, very documentary bent. It's literally just filming and voiceover, and yet it is really. I think it's really human. It really captures that kind of human emotion and feeling. I'm willing to bet you'll like it.
You're being so much more real with your recommendations.
I am curious to see if you'll like this or not. But so for me, that's my number one, How To with John Wilson. And it's an HBO show, so it's on HBO Max.
All right. No, I've been very kind with a couple of mine. I've got two that are miniseries.
I also have a miniseries.
Easy to consume.
Yep.
My number two is a mini-series called The Lost Room.
I've never even heard of this.
Excellent. I'm pleased. It means I don't have to plug in a replacement. The Lost Room is from 2006.
Hey, dear listeners. It's with great sadness that at this point I have to let you know that possibly due to each having 5 beers and several martinis, there was a fuck-up with recording at this point. So what we have for the rest of this episode is the backup record, which is nowhere near as good quality as what I usually like to put in your ear holes. But I thought that it was still better than re-recording and losing the magic of Dave and I sharing our picks with each other. So I hope that's okay with you, and I promise it won't happen again. Thanks.
It was a miniseries that starred Peter Krause, who at the time was quite the name because he was the sexier brother in 6 Feet Under, as opposed to Dexter, who was the kind of nerdy, unsexy brother.
Yes, of course.
Then, of course, Barker C. Hall went on to be Dexter, and Peter Krause went on to be nothing. But Peter Krause did go on to be in The Lost Room, so he gets kudos for that. It is, I would say, my favorite miniseries of all time.
Wow, that's high praise.
My favorite. I've never heard of anyone who's seen it other than our friend Wayne Aruzu, who did mention it in one episode on the Countdown.
Right.
I think they were talking about favorite TV miniseries or something, and he brought it up, and no one had fucking heard of it apart from me. It is some of the best sci-fi writing. Knowing your love of the X-Files, I think you will fucking love this.
Okay.
If I wasn't such a massive Almighty Johnson's fan, this would have been my number one, because I think it is of all the things I'm recommending, I think it is the most up your alley. Yep. It's very X-Files. It's about a regular guy played by Peter Krause, whose daughter, played by Elle Fanning, before anyone knew who the fuck Elle Fanning was.
Yes.
And he comes across this room, this hotel room, which is sort of... I've got to be careful that I'm not sort of spoiling stuff. It's kind of out of time.
Yeah.
And he loses his daughter.
Yeah.
And needs to find her. And in order to do that, he has to become acquainted with this room and all of the artifacts in this room,
yeah,
which have various properties.
I'm sold on this 100%. You've got me already.
you also have Juliana Margolis.
Oh shit, she's good.
Kevin Pollock.
Shit.
This is Ewan Bremner from Trainspotting's in there. Margaret Cho. That's probably about it.
This is quite the cast.
It is. I cannot recommend The Lost Room highly enough.
I'm on board.
And can I say also, just in passing, on fucking Amazon Prime if you want to fucking sponsor us.
that has me excited, I've got to say.
It's so good. And miniseries. There's like fucking 6 episodes at most.
I mean, some people might know that my favourite miniseries, I know that Sean Carney from Scaredy Boys, who's going to join me for Best of the Year, he knows this because it's also his favourite miniseries, Merlin. Did you ever see Merlin with Sam Neill?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, mate, fucking slaps.
No, it was great.
Yeah, Sean and I have been talking.
I've been trying to find that for my daughter, and it's fucking hard to find.
I'll send it to you. Sean and I have been saying for years that we should try and get to it because we both have this mutual love for it.
Yeah, Helena Bonham Carter. It's fucking great.
Yes, I'm so.
It's one of the best things that Martin Short's ever done in his entire goddamn career.
Yeah, he is.
Apart from Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, I'm so glad that you share the same love for this. We'll have to.
No, it's seriously good.
Yeah,
seriously good.
It honestly is. I think it's the best adaptation of the King Arthur Merlin story for sure.
Apart from Excalibur. I fucking love Excalibur.
All right. Well, my number 2. I don't think you would have seen this. Are you a big anime watcher, Dave?
Really not.
Okay, I know that your daughter is. I've tried to steer clear of like your big animes. My favorite anime of all time is Death Note, but that I think is a little bit too big.
I've only seen the live action of that with.
That's terrible.
Willem Dafoe.
Oh, don't judge.
See, I thought it was good, but I have no backstory and all groundwork to make that up.
You should check that out. But I'm going with a little series called The Devil is a Part-Timer. Have you heard of this?
No.
Okay.
Never heard of it.
This is a very fun series. It's based on what they call a light manga, which means it's not like super serious, but it's not strictly a comedy. It follows the devil who falls to Earth, is unable to get home, and begins working at a McDonald's to get by. And it is fucking great. There is this hero from kind of heaven who comes down to try and capture him, and it's so much fun. It's like all anime. It has this real kind of penchant for the dramatics when it wants to, and it goes really over the top. But it's also just very funny and very kind of charming.
It's kind of shades of Lucifer.
Yeah.
In just devil comes to Earth and what happens.
So this series, I can't remember when it aired, but it was quite a while ago. It only had 1 season, and it's just been renewed for another one. I think Netflix.
So this is a new thing, is it?
Well, Netflix have just started producing a new season, but the original series, I think, was probably a good 5-6 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And it's just absolutely hilarious, and it's just really charming.
What's the sort of rating? I mean, as you mentioned, both my daughters are.
You could watch this with kids for sure.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, well, that makes it a lot easier.
It's not overly violent. It's not overly kind of sexual like some animes can be.
There's the sexual thing that's. I mean, my kids will watch fucking any amount of violence and blood.
Yeah, there's one character. There's one character with hilariously large breasts, as tends to be
that's
a bit of a gimmick
funny.
in anime. But it's not like some animes you've seen. There's no kind of panties in.
It's not Tsukudoji Legend of the Overfiend.
But I think that your kids would like this, and I think that you'll get a real kick out of it too, because it's really funny and it's really charming. Like by the end of the series, it's one of those, you know, how every now and then there's a series or a film where you're rooting for the bad guy. In this series, you are rooting for the devil. It feels kind of weird to do, but he's just like he's working at fucking McDonald's.
It's very Lucifer. Actually.
Yeah. You should. Yeah. So that is my number 2. I'm glad you haven't heard of it.
Excellent. It's so ironic that we had the Lucifer crossover. My number 3 is a miniseries that ironically has Tom Ellis, who played Lucifer in Lucifer.
Right.
And Can I just say, it also has Daniel Kaluuya.
Oh, shit. I love Kaluuya.
Ian DeCastiga.
Right.
From Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Natalie Dormer from Game of Thrones.
Fucking hell. And you're telling me
Joe Dempsey from Game of Thrones.
And this is meant to be a hidden gem, you say?
Have you ever heard of a show called The Fades?
I've heard of it, but you're lucky I haven't watched it.
Excellent. The Fades is my all-time most underappreciated show.
A zombie series, correct?
It's like zombie / vampire. It's
okay.
It's a little bit grey.
Yep.
Ian DeCastiga, who fits in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for anyone who hasn't watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and they should, because it's about the best thing Marvel's ever fucking done, even though they disowned it. He's a young guy. Daniel Kaluuya is his best mate. Both of them have never fucking been in anything at this point in time. Everyone's a fucking unknown. And he discovers that he can see things beyond the normal mortal plane.
Right, yes, okay.
Whether they are vampires, demons, zombies, whatever, is a bit of a question mark. There's only, I want to say 6 or 8 episodes, something fucking like that.
Yeah,
it's 1 minute. It got cancelled ahead of its time because it was about a decade ahead of its time.
Yeah,
it is fucking phenomenal.
Yes, okay. Lucky
unbelievable. I never get tired of recommending this to people.
Yeah.
The only reason Lost Room was ahead of this is because it's got fewer episodes and it's easier to digest. The Fades is perfect television.
Lucky for you, I own this show and just haven't got around to watching it yet.
Fuck off! You do not!
I do.
I don't own this show.
I can't remember who recommended it to me, but it was recommended to me a good 5-6 years ago. And I just haven't got around to watching it yet.
You're kidding me.
Yes, I'm not kidding you. So I'm looking forward to finally having a reason to watching this one, because it has been for a very.
I'll leave out my, and this is also on Amazon Prime. Please sponsor us. It's so good, Billy. You've got to fucking watch it. It's really fucking good.
Okay.
It ends perfectly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you'll be angry that it got cancelled. Which I can't think of any other show I would say that about. Normally, either Santa Clarita Diet, I'm angry it got cancelled. Yep. There's so much more they could have done. It's a fucking amazing show.
Yeah.
Or, and a show ends perfectly, like Lost. But very rarely do you have something that you're angry that it's finished because you know it got cancelled ahead of time.
Yeah.
But the creators were still able to wrap it up beautifully.
Yeah.
And The Fades is one of those. It is a great show.
Okay. Well, here is my number 3, and this is the first one that I'm really worried that you might have seen. It's from quite a while ago now, at least 10 years ago. And it was one of the... it's another comedy. It's one of the first reality show spoofs. Have you ever watched a show called The Joe Schmo Show?
I think I've seen an episode, maybe.
Oh, shit.
I know the name. But I would say I haven't seen enough to say that I've seen it.
The Joe Schmo Show.
It's kind of it was like a faux reality show. Well, I'm aware of it.
Yeah, it's the most I've ever actually laughed at a television show. So the premise behind it is that it is a reality show, like many reality shows. Season 2 is a dating show. Season 1 is kind of a Big Brother type show. But the gimmick is that there is one person who doesn't know that it's fake.
I do remember. I don't think I think I maybe watched one episode at most, but I'm aware of it.
Okay. All right. So are we counting this?
Yeah, I'm happy to go back and watch more because the premise of it really appeals to me.
Oh, season 1 is one of the it is honestly the most I've ever laughed at a television show, and they were very smart in their.
He think he was on a different sort of show than everyone else.
So
he thought he was on a particular type of show. Everyone else knew that he wasn't.
So some of the names in season 1 now are quite big. For example, what's her name from Saturday Night Live? Oh, fucking hang on.
Tina Fey.
Nah, another.
Amy Poehler.
Nah.
I've run out of names.
Kristen Wiig. Wiig.
Fuck what?
Kristen Wiig is one of the contestants in season 1. She's one of the people playing.
How long ago is this?
It's 2003. 2003.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Wow.
And so season 1 has Kristen Wiig, who is absolutely hilarious. She plays one.
So is this before she's even on Saturday Night Live?
It must have been. So she plays a marriage counselor who's been married 8 times. Lance Krull, who's also been on to be a big name, he plays the gay guy. Ralph Garman, who now hosts Hollywood Babylon with Kevin Smith, he plays the host of the show.
Wow.
And it is just hilarious because there's this one guy who doesn't know that it's a reality show. So it plays off kind of like a Big Brother kind of vibe where they're just living in this house. They have to do challenges. The challenges are outrageous. The first challenge they have to do is there's a hooker who comes into the house completely naked. They spin a twister board which comes up with a body part, and they have to touch that body part for as long as they can. And if you let go, you lose, and you win like immunity or something, whatever it is. It's kind of this mashup of all of these different reality shows. But they really hit the nail on the head with their choosing of the Joe Schmo for season 1.
I have this vague recollection of watching an episode of it and thinking it was very, very clever.
Yes, it's very smart.
But at the same time, because it would be very easy to fall into this trap, it didn't make kind of the main guy who was clueless look like an idiot.
Well, that's exactly
it. Was very respectful of him, and he didn't look like an idiot through the whole thing.
Yes.
Which I remember thinking that would be quite difficult to do.
Yes.
And because the whole idea of the show is that this guy's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Who has no idea what's going on around him. But at the same but they somehow managed to film it in such a way that your entire sympathies were with this guy.
Exactly. They do this genius thing where it's not a mean show. It's not like watching Jackass or something, or like For You, Nathan For You, where you feel bad for the... Like, they're not pranking.
Yeah, God, that was a terrible show.
They're not pranking this guy. You feel... Like, by the end of the show, when he wins, and he is devastated to find out that these people are fake and they're not the genuine friends that he thinks he's made.
Oh, God, I can't even... I'm getting anxiety even just imagining.
And you know what's even
gone through weeks and weeks and weeks, and then finding out, your best friend in the world that you've just spent the last 7 weeks with is a paid actress.
That's exactly right, and yet it is hilarious and it's poignant. And season 2 is even funnier. In season 2, it was a dating show, and they had both a male and a female as the Joe Schmo. And in episode 2, she figures it out. And she,
really?
Yeah, and she joins the rest of the cast. She stays on in the show, and the show does this genius thing where every now and then you see the behind the scenes. You see them having these crew meetings where you're like, okay, today we need to do this and blah, blah, blah. And she joins that, and it is just absolutely hilarious. I cannot wait for you to watch this show and to hear what you think of it, because I think it is criminally underseen.
Because I do remember this when it was on.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I only watched it. It must have just popped up randomly on something and I watched it. But so the viewpoint of the show, is it him or is it the fake cast?
That's what's interesting about it, is it's both. Like, you see their daily production meetings where they talk about what they need to do and how they need to trick him. But really he's the main character essentially, but he doesn't know what it is. So it's this really interesting experience where you're feeling for this guy and you're following this guy and you're kind of rooting for him, but you don't even know what you're rooting for him for, because he's going to be the winner. And everything about the show is rigged for him to make it through to the finale.
Because that's where I guess and I'm sure I'll find out when I start watching it, I guess. But these sorts of shows go week to week with challenges, and the reason the viewers watching is because they're watching people competing in challenges and so much.
Yeah.
If all the challenges are fake and have no consequences,
yes,
are you just kind of watching because this schmuck doesn't know what's going on?
Well, and that's the amazing thing about it, and how I don't know how it is engaging as it is, but you are watching it for this one guy, and you're watching it kind of to see what happens to him and how he feels about this at the end, and yet it is a genuinely enjoyable watch. And they make it completely over the top. Like season 2, which is a dating show, when people get voted off, they do this outrageous thing where they have like these fancy dinner plates with their face on them, like the royal family, and they throw them into the fire. and instead of handing out a rose, the man will hand out a pearl necklace to the females who are going to stay. Like, it's completely ridiculous and over the top. And you're going, how can anybody believe that this is a real show? And yet you're not laughing at the Joe Schmo. You're rooting for them. I can't wait for you to watch this. This is going to be fun when we talk about this in about a month's time.
Looking forward to it. Because much as I rail against reality TV and how it's the death of art and all, get rather pompous about the whole thing. Yeah. There are a few that have, against my better judgment, engaged me. The first season of Beauty and the Geek, I religiously tuned in. I enjoyed that show a lot.
Yeah. Seeing the transformations.
I got sucked into that, so I'm not immune to the charms of reality TV.
Yeah,
much as I haven't watched like 70,000 episodes of Survivor like Paula or anything, but occasionally things will kind of strike a nerve.
Yeah. Well, let's get on to your number 4, mate.
All right, this is not going to be a big, huge surprise. This is one of my favourite shows of fucking all time. And I'm sure you've heard me talk about it before.
Oh, but have I watched it? That's the question.
I'm fairly sure you haven't, which is why I'm forcing you to do it now. My number 4 is a show called The Magicians.
Oh, okay. Yes, I've not seen this, but I have seen you post about this several times.
Lev Grossman, my personal hero, the book critic from the Times, decided to become an author. Started writing and wrote a bunch of shit for a few years, nothing but major. And then managed to shit out one of the greatest fantasy series of all time. 3-book series that took the premise of Harry Potter and Hogwarts, the Narnia series, smushed them together and said, what if the people weren't kids?
So this is based on a series of books?
This is a trilogy of books that Lev Grossman wrote.
Wow.
And Sarah Gamble, who was one of the architects behind Supernatural, the TV series, brought it to TV. And essentially, it is about what if Harry Potter was an adult going to university rather than a child going to school, and was also obsessed with a series of books like the Narnia series.
Yeah.
How would that go?
I had no idea what this series is about.
The books are some of the best writing I've ever... I highly recommend the books as well.
Yeah.
The TV show is one of my favourite shows of all time. The book series, the 3 books, are possibly the greatest young adults, much as I hate that kind of genre, because they are perfectly applicable to adults.
Yeah.
But they are one of the best sort of in that ilk of YA semi-fantasy sort of stuff. They leave everything else for dead.
Yeah.
Forget about your fucking Twilights and Why the Last Man. Fucking everything. Nothing is even remotely on a level with how good these books are. They are genius. For someone of our age, and I say that very magnanimously because I'm about a fucking decade older than you, but For adults who still like this sort of fantasy stuff, The Magicians is the perfect show.
I had no idea that that's what the premise was. Like, I knew nothing about this show other than the title, and that you and a number of other people that I've seen online have been big fans.
I've unashamedly championed this fucking thing.
I'm keen, and I'm a massive Harry Potter fan, and like
I guarantee this will take over your life.
Okay,
it is so good.
So, can I ask? Would you recommend? Because I've had this before. Like, for example, films that I know other people are a big fan of that are based on books, where I'm a fan of the book and hate the film.
So, I have read the books and I have seen the show, and they are both brilliant.
Okay. Would you recommend starting with the books?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
The show deviates from the books enough. They stand alone, and it doesn't matter which one you do first.
Wow.
I would suggest go the show first just because it's easier.
Yeah. That's big.
And then go and read the books. But very rarely have I come across something that you kind of, when you kind of feel like almost like something's made just for you.
Yeah, yeah.
I felt that with the Watchmen movie.
Yeah.
Much as Zack Snyder's a humongous flog, but the Watchmen movie, I watched it when I saw it for the first time in cinemas. I thought it's like someone went into my brain and went, "What do I want to see on a film?"
Yeah,
it was amazing. And it's very, very rare for anyone who likes comic books, because comic book movies are usually fucking very average.
Oh, yes.
Even with the MCU in the picture.
Yes.
The best of the MCU just meets kind of what I want to see.
Well, because this is exactly what I was going to allude to, is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I was such a giant fan.
One of the few perfect films. You and I differ on this. There's not much we differ on. We differ on this because I've never read the comic.
Oh, see, because I loved because it's 6 quite thick books. People forget that it's not just a comic. It's 6 large graphic novels.
There's a lot, and I've never read any of it, which is why I enjoyed it.
And adapted into that. I saw it opening day. I dragged Noose to it. We were on holidays, actually, and I was like, I know we're away, but I am so...
Must have been crushing, because I know you're a huge fan of the comic.
It was devastating. Yeah. So, well, that's cool. I'm really excited to watch it.
See, weirdly, that's why I'm one of the few fans of the New Mutants movie.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm one of the few fans of the New Mutants comic, and I love the fact that Magic, Cannonball, Wolfsbane, these characters are... The script itself might be problematic, because there's a huge amount of behind-the-scenes stuff around what the directors and writers wanted versus what the studio wanted. The whole thing was dead in the water before it began because of the competing. But Anya Taylor-Joy, who, as you know, can do no wrong.
That explains everything.
She is magic. She is fucking perfect as Ileana Rasputin. Charlie Heaton is fantastic as Cannonball. Maisie Williams is brilliant as Wolfsbane.
Oh, shit, I didn't know Maisie Williams is in it. She's fantastic.
Oh,
now I want to watch it.
The movie's imperfect. It wasn't what the directors wanted. They had a vision for a 3 horror movie series where each horror movie was a different genre of horror movie. The grand scale of what they wanted was phenomenal. Never happened. Studio fucked it up. All this sort of shit, behind the scenes shit. But the end result, the New Mutants movie, it's fine.
Yeah, okay.
It's not great, but it's fine. And Anya Taylor-Joy is phenomenal. Charlie Heaton is great. Maisie Williams is great. Blue, whatever her name is, the main character, it's not fantastic, but she's fine. It's fine. It's definitely worth watching. You'll enjoy it. And just don't go in expecting Citizen Kane, and you'll come out fine. But as a New Mutants fan, I never expected a New Mutants movie. So I'm fucking happy because I got one. It's better than the X-Men movie. Yeah. Fucking Bryan Singer and what's his name? I can't remember his name. The fucking god-awful writer that Simon Kinberg, fucking the Antichrist of comic book movies. It's better than all the shit they churned out.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, anyway, my number 4 is the most recent one on my list, which has me the most worried because I feel like there's a chance you might have seen it.
Okay.
It's a mini-series. It's only 3 episodes. Have you seen the miniseries Quiz?
Don't think so. I've seen
Excellent.
the Redford movie.
All right. Quiz? It stars Matthew McFadden, who I love.
Oh, I like him.
He is fucking brilliant. And it is an adaptation of, you may remember this is within our lifetime. Do you remember the great coughing scandal of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah, of course.
So this is a miniseries about that. And it's brilliant. So it's 3 episodes. The first episode is about the people who created Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. The second episode is about the coughing scandal itself, and the third episode is about the court case, because this shit went to court. And when you watch this miniseries, it is brilliant because it doesn't take anyone's side, really. But by the third episode, you feel so bad for Matthew McFadden and so sure that he didn't cheat that it just makes you feel horrible for this guy. And it is absolutely brilliant. It is funny. It is smart. It's only 3 episodes, mate. It's perfect.
Oh, really? 3? Jesus.
3 episodes. A true miniseries.
It's fascinating.
It is fascinating because, like, every episode takes you in a different direction. When you see the first episode, you kind of feel for the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire creators because it's about their inception of this show and everything. The second episode shows you Matthew McFadden and his family are fucking wackos. His wife was a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire nut. Her and her brother invented this fastest finger first machine to, like, test their times. And they, like, get into this weird, like, black hat community trying to get on the show and trying to scam the show and stuff. Her and her brother both go on the show. They both lose. They manage to get Matthew McFadden on, and he wins the $1 million. And by the end of the third episode, you feel so bad for this guy because the truth is that even if he did cheat, he doesn't deserve what he gets. And it is just a fascinating watch. I'm really excited for you to watch this one.
Really intrigued. It sounds like a cross between Tiger King and Robert Redford's Quiz Show.
It's fascinating. I'm so excited for you to watch this one.
I'm keen.
Because
I've never even heard of it.
It only came out in the last year or two. And yet I feel like it was so criminally underseen. I just think that this miniseries needs all the praise it can get because it's a really great watch.
No, I'm happy to give it that. It's I've made a note.
Nice.
This is so much fun. I'm so looking forward to checking this shit out.
Well, here we go. Here we go. Number 5. What have you got for me?
And weirdly, even though we've kind of gone backwards, this is one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
Yep.
Probably top 5 TV shows of all time.
Right.
From 1967. Patrick McGoohan, who was a household name at the time.
Yep.
Because he was in a TV show called Secret Agent or Danger Man, depending on where you were in the world. It was either Danger Man or Secret Agent. And it was one of the top shows at the time. It was James Bond before James Bond. Quit the show because he wanted to do his own thing.
Yep.
And he created his own show called The Prisoner.
Oh my God, I have something to tell you.
What?
I've seen The Prisoner, mate.
Fuck off! No, you haven't! It's my number 1!
I have, so you have to go to your next one.
Oh, fuck, I'm going to be going into my also rans.
Oh, no.
Oh, fucking delving down.
I see it.
Of all the ones that I thought you might have seen, this would have been the bottom of the list.
Oh, I
would have thought you would have seen everything out of this.
See, about 5, 6, in fact, longer. About 10, 11 years ago, I got into a big online community that was big with sharing very old. They called it the TV Vault, and it was big with sharing really old shows. Some of them big stuff. There was lots of like. I've binged all the seasons of Bewitched and the Brady Bunch. But yes, The Prisoner is one that I discovered through that. And so, yes, I'm very sorry to say I have.
Son of a bitch!
So let's go to your...
Did you like it?
I did like it. I liked it a lot.
Okay.
It's a great show.
All right. So having seen that, alrighty. Let me start going through also rans. Have you seen a British TV comedy called Coupling?
Oh, I'm going to do the same thing that you did with Joe Schmo and say I have seen one episode, but it was so long ago that I wouldn't count. Yes.
All right.
That's
Perfect.
for you. And I know
As a diehard Friends fan.
Yes, I've heard many people say it's the British Friends, and I watched
it is the British Friends. It is better than Friends, and I love Friends, so you know that means something.
Yeah.
All right, so in place of The Prisoner, I'm giving you Coupling, which is also on Prime. Please sponsor us. Coupling is one of the funniest comedy shows ever produced.
Yeah.
It is funnier than Friends, and I love Friends.
Wow.
Probably as much as Billy. I do love Friends. But Coupling, I'm not saying it's a better show than Friends. I'm saying it's funnier than Friends.
Wow.
Jack Davenport, who we all know now from Pirates of the Caribbean and all other shit. But before that, he was in a couple of amazing British shows. One called This Life, which was almost going to be on this list, but was if you'd seen more than one episode of Coupling, you would have been watching This Life. But it's a lot harder to find, so Coupling's a little bit easier. It's very much the Friends template. It's 3 guys, 3 girls with various interpersonal relationships between them, who we follow through 3 seasons off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And it is so fucking funny.
This is one of those shows that for me,
unbelievably funny.
For me, I think I just watched it at the wrong time because I would have been quite young. I think I was maybe 12 or 13, and my older sister was like, "Oh, Coupling's really funny. It's better than Friends." And I watched like one episode, and I was like, "No, it's not better than Friends." But it was so long ago now, and I was so young that I really do need to rewatch this because
so much of this show has kind of entered my vernacular.
Yeah.
My ex and I, who are still very close friends to this day, we have ongoing running jokes that have come out of this show. They won't mean anything to you now, but the giggle loop, the melty man, there is oh my God, I can't even begin.
Yeah.
It will become apparent.
Yeah.
As you work your way through. This is one to watch
the first 3 episodes.
100%. This is one to watch with Nusk.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe
you will both love it.
You know what? Maybe I'll wait. Maybe I'll make her watch all 5 of these and get her on for the recap episode.
Just sort of looking through them. 100%. I put money she will love Coupling.
Okay.
The Magicians is phenomenal. Everyone will love that. Is one of the greatest shows of all time. The Fades, I'm less confident. It's short.
Yeah.
But it's possibly a little bit too much horror. Lost Room. If she likes X-Files, she'll love that.
Yeah, she does like X-Files. Lost Room.
Almighty Johnsons. She will like Almighty Johnsons.
Okay.
Almighty Johnsons and Coupling. 100%. I put my money on. She will enjoy those.
All right. Well, here we go with my number 1. This is
I'm
tough one.
So intrigued.
All right. Which one do I go with? I've got, because luckily you haven't seen any of mine, so I've got 6 left on the list, and I'm wondering which one to go.
Oh my God.
Have you ever seen? Okay, when I say a TV show called Scream Queens to you, what do you think of?
There's a reality show.
Ah, yes. That's the one on my list. Oh, you've seen it. Damn it.
Fucking loved it.
Yes. It is the best reality show of all time. All right, but damn it, you've seen it. All right. Oh, here we go. This is tough. What to go with next? What's next on the list? Okay. I know that you enjoy a sitcom.
In fact, you're the one that told me to fucking watch it.
That makes sense. I've been spouting that show since like 2008 or whatever it was when it aired.
Oh my God, I was so in love with the chick that didn't win.
I know. Yes, she's actually
she was fucking hot.
Sadly, this is so the episode for us to discuss this because you've seen it, so it's not that hidden. Have you seen a sitcom called Better Off Ted?
The name's familiar, but I can't actually put a picture behind it.
Better Off Ted was a sitcom which I've been spouting for years as one of the funniest sitcoms of all time. It's more of a traditional, like, if you're going to say funniest shows of all time, obviously Arrested Development for me is the winner. Better Off Ted is more your kind of traditional 30-minute sitcom. Basically, I don't remember if the guy who plays Ted is a big name or not, but Andrea Anders is in it. You may remember her. She was in the Joey, the Friends spin-off. And the biggest name in it is...
Does anyone remember Joey, the Friends spin-off?
And the biggest name in it is Portia de Rossi. And it's kind of like... Are you a fan of the comic series Dildo?
Oh, wait a minute. Are there like some scientists who work in like a lab thing or something? And Portia de Rossi's his boss?
Yes, she's the boss. That's correct. So you've seen this then?
I've seen like one episode or something. I don't remember anything about it.
This, I think, is the most underrated sitcom of all time.
I'm keen to check it out then. So
it lasted 2 seasons. You're exactly right. Portia de Rossi plays the boss, like the CEO of the company. That does... It's one of those weird companies that's kind of just got their finger in every pie. And Ted is this kind of mid-level executive. And it's just a funny show. It's kind of, it's very sitcom-like, but it doesn't have a laugh track. It was one of the first sitcoms in the same vein as, say, Friends or Just Shoot Me, but without a laugh track. And I just think it's hysterically funny. I'm really excited that you haven't seen this one.
No, I know I've seen like an episode or two, or like I know enough to know what it is.
Yeah.
Not more than that.
Yeah, it was.
And I love Portia de Rossi. So
she's fantastic. It was recommended to me by a friend many years ago, and when I first watched it, I was like, "No, this can't be that funny." But I binged the 2 seasons that night, and I've watched them. I've watched them at least 3 or 4 times since, and I just find it hysterical. And it's actually due for a rewatch for me as well. So maybe I'll rewatch it in the next month as well. But it's just very funny. It's a typical sitcom. It's like Friends. There's nothing real heavy about it. It's very light. There's a light romance between him and another girl in the office. That kind of sitcom, and it's just fun.
But I love those. I love a good sitcom that is well written.
Yes.
Because there's so many that aren't, and the ones that are kind of like comfort viewing.
Exactly.
Like Just Shoot Me. Like, what's the other David Spade one? Rules of Attraction or whatever. When they're well written, it's kind of comfort viewing because they're only 18 minutes long or whatever per episode. Yeah. And if you can laugh a few times in those 18, 20 minutes.
Yes, exactly.
And you like the characters.
That's thing.
That's a good time.
Exactly. And the thing about a really well-written sitcom is that it can be comfort viewing without you. Like Friends is obviously comfort viewing at this point because I've seen every episode 40 times. So I can throw an episode on. I don't even need to watch it.
But even shit like Herman's Head I can watch. And because it is such sharp writing.
That's the thing. A really well-written
and it's clever. I will enjoy it.
Exactly. When it's kind of...
Ned and Stacey.
Yep.
Herman's Head. Those... There are some that... The writing is sharp enough that you can just keep going back to them.
That's the beauty of a sitcom. Some people will slag off kind of how formulaic they are. But that's what makes them comforting. When it's well written.
That is the style.
Yeah.
It's what you do within the the framework of that particular genre.
Yeah. So I'm
makes is it Cheers or is it some generic shit that gets forgotten?
Yeah. So I'm really
some
curious
things are good, some things aren't.
I'm really curious for you to watch this and see which side of the fence you think it lands on, because I think that this is a really smart, really funny sitcom, and I just think it was underseen. So
yeah, there's lots of those. So I'm happy to check it out.
Well, what's on your honourable mentions, mate? What are the ones on your list that I?
There's only a couple because I have to delve into one of them. The other 2 that I almost put in there, one was The Fast Show, which we did touch on last week, I think, when we were talking about.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. Yep.
Comedies, sketch shows. The Fast Show is, to my mind, the funniest sketch show of all time.
Yeah.
It's similar to Little Britain. Predated it by a few years, I think, in that there are recurring characters and it's the same troupe of actors doing all the characters.
Yeah,
but
right.
it is incredibly funny.
Yeah.
And it had in the moment that it was on, it was kind of the du jour off-kilter comedy shows. So they had people like Johnny Depp doing cameo visits and that sort of stuff. So it's but it's very, very funny.
Yeah.
The other thing which I had on my obscure list when I was started thinking about coupling was to go even further back in Jack Davenport's oeuvre to a show he did called This Life.
I haven't seen that either. Yeah.
Which is I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like it's not even a sitcom. It's a drama show about sort of 20-something university / starting new life people in the UK. They're people who are just starting out as in law firms or various jobs, but they're all still in share houses.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it's just really, really good. What's his name? Andrew. Main guy from The Walking Dead. Andrew Lincoln.
Yeah,
that's where he started. He's one of the guys.
Okay.
Jack Davenport from Pirates of the Caribbean. He's one of the guys. It's all kind of before they hit the mainstream, and they're all in this one show about people sharing houses and starting out in their life. And it hit. I mean, it's just a really fucking good show, but it also hit right when I was in the early 90s. I was in my uni, post uni sort of years, sharing houses, all that sort of stuff. And it hit right at that moment. Yeah. And it's just a really fucking good show that no one ever sees anymore. So I was sort of thinking about that one.
Yeah.
But we didn't get to that. We'll do that next time round. That'll be in my also rounds in 2 months' time when we do version 2.
Well, I'll only mention 2 honourable mentions then. Have you seen an Australian show called Review with Miles Barlow?
No, what the fuck's that?
Fucking hilarious. It's basically like a spoof of like a current affair type show where the host, Miles Barlow, I cannot remember the guy's name who plays him, but he reviews life experiences. So he like reviews what robbery is like and what cheating on your wife is like, or like what murder is like. He reviews these different life experiences and gives them a rating out of 5, and it is just absolutely hilarious. Like, it reminded me, I'm sure that you've seen this show called Life Support, an old Australian.
I was about to say,
it's very
this
similar.
Just reminds me of something that will go on my list of things to recommend called Life Support.
Yes, it's very, very similar in tone to that, where it's just this hilarious kind of, man, it's really, really funny. And the only other one I'll mention is a really recent show called The Premise, which is BJ Novak, who... big from The Office.
I know that name. Why do I know that name?
He's big from The Office. He played.
I've never seen The Office.
Okay, and he's a writer. He's written probably my favorite collection of short stories called "And Just Another Thing," and basically it's kind of like the comedy version of a Twilight Zone. It's an anthology series where each episode is like a different. He takes a premise, like a comedic premise, and writes a story around it. There's only 5 episodes, but it's very, very funny, and I think very underseen. So I'd recommend that one as well.
Okay. Oh, well, at least I know not to put Life Support on my next list.
I used to love
Life Support. Oh my God,
I've been searching everywhere to try and find it.
It's me, Dr. Rooney.
I've been searching everywhere for that show, and I can't find it these days. But
I've got it. I'll send it to you.
Oh, yes. Excellent. Well, this has been a lot of fun. This was a fun concept, and I'm really curious to come back in a month's time.
We'll do this regularly.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to coming back in a month's time and seeing what we think of these shows. This will be good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining me, mate. At this stage, I have no idea what we're getting to next week, because people behind the curtain, we're recording in advance. I don't know. Next week is the week of Christmas. Maybe we'll do something Christmassy. Let's see. But in the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that at wewatchedathing.com or wewatchedathing@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under the handle at wewatchedathing. If you want to help support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/wewatchedathing. And we'll catch you next week. All right. Nooski's not going to be happy when she gets home from work and I'm 5 beers in. But I'll blame you.